How's it going, guys? It's Cole from See-Through Panel, showing off Ultramega by James Harren, colored by Dave Stewart, published by Image Comics, and retailing for $20 US. As always, I will not be spoiling anything explicitly with my words, but I will be flipping through the book. If you're worried about that, seeing something that would be a spoiler, read it first, come back after, we can talk about it, and we'll both have a better experience to not being spoiled. Ultramega is a series... Oh, you might be wondering about this over here. This is Simon, our new cat, and he doesn't know when to get off the table, so he'll be joining us for this. Anyway, Ultramega is a series that I read the first issue of either late 2021 or early 2022, and I read the first issue and thought it was pretty much a perfect first issue to a comic, even as a standalone story and also as the beginning of a longer form story. And I'll get into that, but it was the beginning of a longer form story, but even if the story didn't continue, suppose these next 3 issues never happened, it would still be a perfect story, I think, front to back. But that's getting ahead of myself. Ultramega, solely created by James Harren, writer, artist. Dave Stewart doing awesome colors, and Russ Wooten making everything very clear and concise with the letters. I love when a artist becomes a writer-artist, just a sole creator, and that's what James Harren has done here. I don't believe he's ever had any other writing credits that I know of, at least, in comics. So I'm really happy that he branched out and did his own thing, even though I loved Rumble. This is just another evolution for him, and his art really, really leveled up. It's always been fantastic, but this series is just amazing. And this is a kaiju story in the kind of aesthetic of Ultraman, but hyper-violent. You can see the Ultraman kind of aesthetic there. But also, yeah, hyper-violent with some crazy monster designs by Harren, which he's always been great at, if you've seen Rumble. Yeah, just wonderful design sense on the monsters. Very gory battles. It's basically just a high-stakes action kind of kaiju movie, but with some real horror elements that I think shine through really well. And this first issue introduces us to our protagonist, who is given the power of the Ultramega. It's not explicitly called that, but that's the name of the story, so I'm going to say that. And he will be able to fight kaiju. The only thing is, they manifest when he's around them. So, like, he'll be shopping at the grocery store, and he can basically see it in them that they're about to turn. And he turns into the giant Ultramega, and they turn into the giant kaiju, and they fight. So he's both the defender of humanity, but also the reason why it needs to be defended, kind of, which is a very interesting hook for me. It's also interesting to just see a regular guy be given this responsibility and how he reacts to it and kind of evolves in a short form. This is just a one single oversized issue, probably like 60 pages, maybe only like between 40 and 60 pages probably. But the action is just so visceral. There's so much movement. Also, his facial expressions are just awesome. Dave Stewart kills this book, by the way. I'll show a couple panels where I think Dave Stewart is just pulling his weight. But yeah, the monster designs are crazy. Always action happening. Pretty much every page is going to have at least a little bit of action, and when it's not actiony, it's just horrific, the kind of crazy monster designs and things that are happening. The level of gore is really out there for a kaiju thing. I haven't really seen a kaiju piece of media that shows this level of gore on this scale before. Let's just get some close-up panels. I'm talking a lot. Yeah, he's got these, obviously, these kind of just like vague Ultraman powers where he can do energy blasts and things like that. Never explicitly outlined, but who cares? I love that when he shrinks back down here and his head stays big and he has to wait for it to pop back down. Really good use of shadows, kind of concealing the underneath there. This lady's when it gets kind of horrifying, I think, to me. Yeah, pretty big cast of characters over this miniseries, 4 issues. Oh, it's not a miniseries, actually, I should say. It's just the first volume in an ongoing series, and I can't wait for more, but here's a little bit more of that horror. Corpse standing up, turning sideways. yeah, really, really disgusting in the best way, because James Herron, obviously. But yeah, things just escalate really quickly. He puts a pretty crazy world in front of you and expects you to catch on. It's not necessarily a complicated world. It's pretty easy to grab onto, but the concepts in it are mined very effectively, I think. The idea that kaiju are running loose in the world, the idea of kind of the evolution of this responsibility to fight them, and then a lot of other things I can't talk about because there's huge revelations in this book. Herron is not afraid to kill his characters. He's not afraid to completely throw away one thing to move on to the next. He's not afraid to introduce concepts and then include them and then bring them back up issues later. It's really ballsy storytelling, I think. It is really brave, and I think he pulls it off damn well. It's really crazy to me that this is one of the first things he's ever written. Like, the idea of the kaiju and Ultramega fighting is knocking people out. Like, he said they're all lying down, there's no blood. It's a concussion from the fight. And you get this panel with, like, pure rage kind of on Ultramega's face, where he looks like the monster. Decapitation. I mean, it's gory, and it's just... I mean, the whole thing is just rule of cool awesome. But underneath that, I think there's some really cool world building and storytelling going on. That stuff isn't required at all. It's just fun to be fun. It doesn't. You don't need to have any other stuff than that. It's just fun and cool, in the way that kaiju movies and stuff should be. Just a lot of action, and it looks just great. But there's more to it than that. If you're looking for a real intense story, I think it grows to be pretty complex and kind of a large cast of characters that lends itself well to a very long story. I don't know what his plan is for this, if it's going to be 2 volumes or if it's going to be 10 volumes. I just know that with the size of the cast that he's set up here, it could be... I could see this going for a long, long time. That being said, I think I would prefer it to just be, 2 to 3 4-issue series. That would be ideal for me, just because I know it takes him a long time to make this. Like, it's going to take him over a year to make another volume of it, I'm sure. And I would rather have the entire thing, the full story, rather than waiting a long time and potentially never getting it. But that being said, this trade in itself is entirely worth getting. The story progresses at such a quick rate, you're not going to be able to really catch your breath in a good way. I think that there's a lot of really fast developments and character building and new characters thrown in that's going to keep you on the tip of your toes just the entire time, all the way to the end cliffhanger that promises more. Yes, and Dave Stewart really just destroying this book. He's so good in this book. This is my favorite panel of the whole book because of the style change. The shadowy face almost reminds me of like Dragata or something, but the solid red on that blade right there, I think it's just wonderful, wonderful composition and colors. They're just awesome, and the way it works in tandem with the story is really compelling as well. I think I've gone on about this long enough. Really badass, action-packed kaiju story with blood, gore, tons of great monster effects, wonderful art conveying so much motion, beautiful designs. It's really something else. It's more than you could ask for from a kaiju story, I think, an adult kaiju story. It's just awesome. I can't wait for more from James Herron. I really think he's outdone himself with this book. After I saw him on Rumble, and actually this says it best. These are the only 2 places I've seen his internals, besides like a fill-in and Deceased. But yeah, Rumble and BPRD, he was just beautiful to look at, and this is even better. He's in his own element. He's writing his own scripts. It's just really something to behold. I think this is a great book for manga fans if you're trying to get into American comics, because it has that manga influenced artwork and pacing. It also has a little bit more dialogue and exposition if you're used to American comics. It just fits right in that middle ground where it's not too wordy, but it's not too fast. And yeah, I really think it's one of the best things I've read in the last couple years in terms of the genre of it. It's not saying anything super deep, it's not It's not like these other like non-fiction books I'm reading that are very, very important historically. It's not Alan Moore waxing poetic about his favorite literature. It's just giant guy beats up kaiju, blood and guts, really cool world in the background. It's like it's all of it. It's all of it. So I've been rambling long enough. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace.